What's up, guys? How we doing tonight? Or I guess it's this morning. It's almost 1:45 on Monday, the 23rd. Yes, July 23rd. Hope everybody's been doing good. I've been kind of absent for a little bit. Planned on doing a bunch of videos, which I'll start to post more regularly now. But had some things going on, and all is well now. Let's jump right into it. We got a lot of drama, a lot of bullshit, a lot of back and forth chit-chatting. You know how fighters are, they all have their mouths. So jump right into it with Chris Cyborg talking about her super fight with Amanda Nunes. She said that it's her last fight in the UFC, possibly the last fight in MMA. I don't know if she's going to retire or she's just going to move on. She was talking about boxing for a little while. I know that she's not happy with the talent pool at the 145 division in the UFC. It's a brand new excuse me. It's a brand new weight class, and there's just really not a lot of super top tier people, or women rather, that are running around begging to fight a beast like Chris Cyborg. I don't know a lot of guys at 145 that will want to fight Chris Cyborg. So with that said, she said that it's her last fight in, I don't think it's necessarily the MMA altogether, but in the UFC. She stated that in the past she wants to move on to more competition. I don't know if that means she's going to move over to Invicta or Bellator, or if she's going to move over to boxing. I guess we shall see. But her contract is, I guess, up after this fight, or it's up in March, and she's looking to fight in December. And she told Nunes to stop running her mouth and running away from the bout and just sign the papers already and get that contract going. Conor McGregor just celebrated, I believe, what is his birthday, and he also has a new child on the way, a McNugget, and I don't know if he's coming back, but I've been hearing a lot of rumors that he's having financial issues, which is absolutely insane. I don't know how you blow through anywhere from $85 to $100 million in not even a year, really. But I hope it's all just hearsay and that he's really not that stupid. And yeah, I don't even know. I mean, Mike Tyson went through what, 300 and something $million in when he was young. He also got duped out of a lot of money too. Really crappy promoters and such, trusting the wrong people. So yeah, it's definitely doable. Especially spending the way that he is, traveling all over the world, buying, Bugattis, Rolls Royces, tons of suits, $125,000 watches. The guy doesn't spare any any expense. He definitely goes big. Tony Ferguson is all healed up, quote unquote. He's training hard and getting ready for his epic comeback. He says that he is still the 155-pound champ, that the belt should have never been taken away from him because he never lost it. He got injured and unfortunately had to pull out of that last fight. But with that said, he's been a lot more, I'm trying to think of the word, he's been a lot more productive. He's been a lot more... He hasn't been shying away from fights. It's just he's been back and forth with a lot of different fallouts, especially with Khabib. I think they were supposed to fight 4 times and something happened every single time. And then also the last time he fought was against Kevin Lee when he got the belt, and they were supposed to, him and Khabib were supposed to fight, and he ended up blowing out his knee in a freak accident. So we'll see how that goes, man. Tony Ferguson's a fun guy to watch. He definitely is a beast. He's kind of a weird guy, but I think that's kind of his swagger, his his, I don't want to say attitude or his persona. I think he does it on purpose. He's always got like a ball in his hand, or he's keeping himself agile, and I don't know if maybe it's a coping mechanism, or it's almost like carrying a security blanket. But you always see him. He has that ball and he's like rolling it in his hands and stuff. Um, I'm sure it's to strengthen his hands or something like that, or whatever. But yeah, hopefully he comes back fully healed. No kicking metal poles and doing stupid shit like that when you have one of the biggest fights of your life coming up. Let's see. Next we got Chad Mendez. Welcome back, Chad. He was gone for, I believe it was, 2 years. He was caught with a performance-enhancing drug, decided not to fight USADA on it. USADA suspended him, and he took that time to heal up, also start a business or grow his business, and good to see him come back. He was fighting a game opponent in Miles Jury, and Chad knocked him out, TKO, in round 1, less than 3 minutes, despite Miles Jury having a huge height and reach advantage. I think it was over like 9 inches or something like that. Sage Northcutt got his first 170 win. He said that it's because he finally had a full camp, and he feels that's his optimum weight at 170, and that's where he wants to continue to fight. He got rocked in the first, I believe it was the first punch. Zach Otto landed on him, and Sage just didn't give up, man. Came in and TKO'd him in the second round, and he believes he's staying at 170. He's got the full camp over there with Team Alpha Male, and he's happy. So, more power to the kid. Love watching him fight. He's definitely an interesting guy. He's young, seems very naive. I think a lot of people don't really know how to take him and understand exactly what's going on in his head, because he's got that like polite pretty boy thing going. Hold on a second, my cat's bouncing off the wall over here. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, Sage Northcutt. Come here. Sage Northcutt. We'll see if he's legit, man. He's definitely got a bright future ahead of him. He's already been a karate champion, and he's got his modeling going. He's got huge sponsors. He's definitely a poster boy for that yes ma'am, yes sir, and hopefully he really is like that. I hope he doesn't end up being like a John Jones, where John was like this sweet, all-American, nice Christian boy, and then all of a sudden you realize that there isn't just one skeleton in his closet, there's multiple of them. You see the way that he talks now. His attitude is, he literally walks around like he's a gift. I loved watching the guy fight, not taking anything away from his ability to fight or market a fight, anything like that, but he just doesn't seem like a very good, genuine person in any way, shape, or form. I do like his brothers, though. His brothers Arthur and Chan, both good football players. I'm a huge Colts fan. Arthur played for the Colts for a little bit, and yeah. With that said, moving on. Let's see what we got. JDS, he won his last fight. I honestly don't even know the guy's name, but won the fight. He kind of had glimpses of the old JDS. He seemed very tentative almost. The way that he was kind of coming in and out, being heavyweight, you can easily get clipped and go night. So I understand kind of getting in and getting out, but at the same time, it's when you're fighting like that, it makes for a boring fight unless you're just hoping for a haymaker, and two, for my personal opinion is it doesn't really make you seem like you're winning the fight. Like you can tell that they're winning the fight because you know how many punches they're throwing, the more significant punches, whether there's takedowns, things like that. But at the same time, when you're just kind of like bouncing in and out and almost seem afraid to get punched. What is it? What do they call it? Gun shy, something like that. So it's definitely it's good to see him back, and I'm glad everything got figured out with USADA. But I'd like to see him get back to his old ways and not care, jump in there and just start knocking people's heads off like the old days. Just saw this yesterday. Cerrone versus Platinum Perry is quote-unquote good to go for UFC Fight Night, November 10th in Denver. This is going to be interesting because both fighters fight out of Jackson Winklejohn out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I know Cerrone has his own camp and own gym at the, what is the Bad Motherfucking Ranch out there. And I don't even know if Perry's officially moved over to Jackson Wink, but those two guys, they're sluggers. Cerrone's more of a veteran, obviously, but Platinum's been in the news, ever since he pretty much came in the UFC, knocking people out, always having exciting fights, and especially his last one. His last one was a barn burner, man. It was fun to watch, and like he said, man, people are gonna bleed. So somebody might die in there. So that's gonna be a good fight if it actually happens. I hope Cerrone goes out there and fights like we know Cerrone can, and doesn't get knocked out in like first round like he did against Till or something like that against Till's huge, but regardless, that'll be a fun fight. I really hope that happens. Ortega went on the record saying that he was not compensated for the Holloway fight being canceled, but now he has gone on the record and said that everything has been figured out. He has been constipated, yeah. He's been compensated for it, and he has no desire to fight for an interim belt, which was an offer that was put on the table. He said he's either going to wait for Holloway, or if Holloway is not going to come back anytime soon, he believes that he should be stripped of the belt, and he would fight the number 2 contender for the vacant belt. We got Vic and Gaethje coming up. That's in, I believe, Lincoln, Nebraska. Vic said that Gaethje won't last 2 rounds with him, and Vic said that he'll outclass Justin Gaethje in every single way, every facet of the MMA sport inside the octagon. Gaethje said if that happens, he'll retire and never fight again because he believes he's going to kick the crap out of Vic. Definitely going to be a fun fight to watch. Vic's always fun, and obviously Gaethje, whether he wins or loses, I heard, I think it might have actually been Vic. He said that he's a human punching bag. He'll go in there and take 5 punches just to land a hard leg kick or 2 punches of his own. But he's kind of fallen on hard times here with 2 losses. But I mean, at the end of the day, he lost to 2 really awesome fighters in Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, so it's not like these are slouches or anything. It's not losing to a person on the undercard or anything, so it's going to be a good fight to watch. We got Paige Van Zandt, just had her 2nd surgery because the first one did not take, and even better news for her, her fiance got a UFC contract after a big win on Dana White's Contender Series. Not saying that he's not a good fighter. I don't really know anything about him. Honestly, I don't even know his name. I forgot to write it down. But, it helps to have a fiance that is, really big in the sport and has connections in the UFC. This whole thing's baffling me. Tyron Woodley, Kobe Covington, and Darren Till. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Apparently, Kobe Covington said that he was offered a fight, but he's not going to be ready by that time, so the UFC was talking about possibly stripping him of the belt and moving on to have Darren Till fight Tyron Woodley. But I also read and heard that Tyron Woodley did not accept that fight, and honestly, I don't understand it. Kobe Covington hasn't had the belt for what, more than a month, and they're already talking about possibly stripping him just because he's not going to be ready for when they want him to fight. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, considering the fact that Tyron Woodley, whether being hurt or not, has not fought in over a year. Actually, I believe it's 374 days to the exact. I honestly don't know, man. This whole thing weirds me out. I like Darren Till, but his last fight, I believe he lost completely in a controversial decision. He was in his hometown, and I thought Wonderboy won that fight completely. Plus the fact that he came in heavy. So why would you go and give that guy a title fight when he didn't even do his job in the first place? Kevin Lee got called out by Maribek. I guess apparently Lee made a joke about Russian fighters. I didn't hear the joke, and honestly I don't really care. Maribek said just because Lee's in the top 5 it doesn't mean crap, and he'd like to shut his mouth in Russia. They got the Moscow card coming up, and he'd like to fight him there. So we'll see. I don't think Lee's going to take that fight. He'd be going backwards if he lost, especially. So Anthony Smith, man, dude's coming out of nowhere. He's fighting at 185. He was getting pieced up, getting hurt down there. He was on a good win streak, and then I believe it was Thiago Santos KO'd him. He moved up to 205. Just knocked out the ex-champion in Rashad Evans in the first round, and now came in tonight, this afternoon rather, and knocked out Shogun with a massive KO first round in 89 seconds, man. Absolutely insane. Good to see new fresh blood in the 205 division. Kind of gets boring watching the same people constantly win, being at the top of the division there, because you pretty much had Gustafsson, Cormier, Ozdemir. You always got Manua up there, and who has always been up there as well. So I mean, Anthony Johnson left, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty much got stale. DC's beat pretty much everybody besides John Jones, and now he moved up to heavyweight, beat Stipe there, and apparently he's going to be fighting Brock Lesnar, so we'll see how that goes, but that also backs up the 205 division. With that being brought up, Gustafsson was looking for a new opponent for UFC 227 when Ozdemir had to pull out with a broken nose, and apparently Gustafsson just got a minor injury and pulled out himself. So after Anthony Smith's fight, they brought it up at the press conference, and Anthony Smith said, isn't that mighty ironic? You know, he comes in, makes a huge splash in the division. Gustafsson was looking for an opponent, and he almost got one. But maybe that'll be something that'll materialize later, and be, you know, fun fight to watch for #1 contendership. Cormier said that Gustafsson has changed, and he seems entitled now. He's talking trash, he's kicking people when they're down, and he's turning away fights that are offered to him that are, you know, top-notch guys that aren't just random slouches or anything like that. And Cormier said that they'll never fight in the octagon again. He said there was a possibility when he came back to 205, but he said that he'll never fight him again. He likes him as a fighter, but as a person, he thinks that he's entitled, and you know, he just walks around with a chip on his shoulder, and he doesn't like him. So he said he'll see him at the commentary table. That's what I got for now. I got a bunch of stuff for the Eddie Alvarez Dustin Poirier fight. We got the what is that? That fight is on July 28th, which is next Saturday. And my son's birthday is the 29th. He will be 2. Shout out to Raylan. I love you, bud. He's getting really big. He's crazy. And my mom jinxed me. She said that eventually one day I'm going to have a boy and he's going to be just like me. And unfortunately for my son, he is just like me. But also, fortunately for him, I've already made all the mistakes that you possibly could as me, and I will steer him in a better direction. So, let's see, we got the Eddie Alvarez Dustin Poirier fight on July 28th in Alberta, Canada, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And then we got Dillashaw Garbrandt 2 on August 4th in Los Angeles. That's going to be a fun fight. There's 2 belts on the line for that, with TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt running it back. Garbrandt was the champion, took the belt away from Dominic Cruz, and TJ came in, knocked out Garbrandt in the second round. It was Garbrandt's first loss and his first title defense. So I guess really no one else was in the division that was ready, and they decided to run it back. Plus, it's a good money payday, rather, for those 2 guys. After that, we got Demetrius Johnson versus Henry Cejudo. This is a fight that happened, when was it, last year? It was last year or 2 years ago. But Cejudo lost in the first round. Demetrius pretty much, I think he caught him with a, I want to say, maybe an uppercut or a body punch, something like that. I remember, if I remember correctly, he kind of crumpled up against the cage. But there's a lot of other good fights on there. We got the Cub Swanson, Rato Macano, Benito Lopez versus Ricky Simon. Yeah, there's a bunch of good fights. I'm excited for it. Got a lot of really good, like I said, fights coming up. Trying to think of anything that really kind of jumps out at me that I'm, Dustin Poirier versus Eddie Alvarez. That's going to be a fun barn burner. Mike Perry versus Donald Cerrone. That's going to be a barn burner. I don't know. There's not really anything that I'm jumping out of my skin over here for that I can't wait to see. And I don't know. I think everything's kind of stale at the moment in the UFC. Same thing in Bellator. They're coming out with, what is it, their welterweight championship tournament, which I don't know what's going on with all these tournaments. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't want to, when I think of a tournament, I think of, something that is fast, not, you fight and then you fight 6 months later, and then you fight 6 months later, and you figure out who wins. That doesn't make any sense to me. I remember back in the day when they used to do tournaments, it was, you'd fight 3 times in one night and be crowned, the champ. But, I don't know if it's against regulation rules or things like that, or they're just trying to, profit as much as possible. But, they're the only ones doing tournament, excuse me. Take a sip. They're the only ones doing the tournament style fighting right now. Kind of that tier. What is it? We had Chael Sonnen versus Rampage Jackson. Chael Sonnen won that fight. Then we had Roy Nelson versus Matt Mitrione. Mitrione won that fight. Then we had Ryan Bader versus King Mo. Ryan Bader won that fight. Then we had Frank Mir versus Fedor. Fedor won that fight. So now we got Frank Mir. Chael Sonnen versus Fedor. And then we got Ryan Bader, who's actually the light heavyweight champ in Bellator, but fighting in the heavyweight tournament against a true, very big Matt Mitrione. He's a real, he's a real heavyweight. So I don't know, man. We'll see how the power goes. He knocked out King Mo in the first round, so he's coming out fresh. He's ready to go. But I don't even know when either one of those fights are. I know they were just announced, but honestly, I really don't care. I don't know why Fedor is still fighting. Everyone got excited because he beat Frank Mir. Frank Mir, I don't think, has won a fight in his last 6 fights. I love Frank Mir. He's an amazing fighter. He's a pioneer of the sport. But he's, it's almost becoming this whole like Royce Gracie versus what's his name, Ken Shamrock. Like, enough's enough. You've done enough for the sport. I'm sure you have plenty of money. You were a UFC or 2-time UFC champion. You've been around the sport forever. I know he's marketable. He's well spoken. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He has his own gym. Great family. So I don't know why he's still doing it. I guess it's one of those things. He's in love with the sport still, and he's going to keep on going until, I don't know, maybe he can't remember his name, or something stupid happens. But same thing with Fedor. Fedor was just knocked out by Matt Mitrione. So if Mitrione beats Ryan Bader and then Chael Sonnen loses to Fedor, we're doing Fedor versus Mitrione all over again, even though Mitrione already knocked him out in the first round. So if he wins the whole tournament. But he wins the tournament. Do they run it back and see who the real tournament champion is, or is it just 1-1, and then we'll have to figure it out down the road? I guess that is to be seen. I think that's about it, man. It's been a pleasure speaking with you guys. Hope everybody has a great evening, and love you all. God bless.